Hey guys, coming to you guys with some breaking news, at least sharing breaking news with you. Mostly because I don't think this will get covered by the mainstream media in Australia too widely. They won't delve into this. And this, of course, relates to the same issue that I was talking about a couple of days ago, which was thanks to Senator Alex Zantic, we got that freedom of information request that showed the Australian government was actually instrumental and involved in the censorship of Australians during the past 3 years as it pertains to posts related to COVID-19. Now, that information request showed that at least 4,000 plus requests were made to these foreign companies to censor Australians. And even though no more detail was shared by the government as to what those posts were and why they did it and so on, thanks to journalists in America, in particular Racket News, an outfit run by Matt Taibbi. Now, Matt Taibbi was a journalist that had contact with Elon Musk, and he was given access to these Twitter files. So seeing the news of the Freedom of Information request, they've actually gone through the Twitter files that they have access to and actually found emails in there from the Department of Home Affairs in Australia, and they've shared some of those emails. Now, I'm going to go through their article because I think they have access to the source material, and they can kind of explain what they're seeing more clearly than someone that doesn't have access to the source material, right? And I think this gives a very detailed, deep dive into the touching on the issues, but even just giving enough there for us to ask more questions now of our government to release more information related to this, because I think it is a scandal that these people were essentially censoring people in secret. And a lot of the times, especially now that we've seen what's in some of these Twitter files, they were censoring people for making posts about Daniel Andrews. They were censoring people who were doctors in our country for sharing a contrary medical opinion. And they were also trying to censor foreign nationals for sharing information related to Australia. Related to COVID in Australia. They're trying to censor foreign nationals. So, look, I'm going to get into it now, into this article, and we'll go through it. I'll stop here and there to explain some of the things that they're talking about, just so you understand. But I think this is just the beginning of uncovering the deeper layers of this story and just how far our government went to silence critics of them, their health experts, and just in general silence people during their crazy era of COVID draconian control, which some people fairly say hasn't really ended even now. All right, let's jump into it, guys. So this article, I'll link to this at the description of my video, but it's from Racket News and it's available on Substack. It says, Twitter Files Extra, the COVID censorship requests of Australia's Department of Home Affairs. Twitter Files confirms that the Australian government has worked overtime to monitor COVID-related speech. So let's go down and have a look. We've got a picture there. This is from our lockdown protest. They've used an image from our lockdown protest in October 2020. I think I was there at that protest covering it. So we got here, thanks to Twitter Files, we've known for a while that the company's official censorship partnership extended far beyond the United States. In Australia, for instance, the company had extremely close contact with the Department of Home Affairs, whose responsibilities include oversight of national security, law enforcement, border control, and the country's lead intelligence agency, ASIO. So they're given some basic information that we've already discussed around this Freedom of Information request, so I won't go over that. So in the Twitter files, Racket found 18 DHA emails, collectively requesting 222 tweets to be taken down. Jokes and information that later turned out to be true were frequently included in the censorship requests, which came from something called, get this, it came from a division called the Social Cohesion Division of the DHA's Extremism, Insights and Communications Office. Not that the DHA staffers were entirely sure of their spelling in every case. Now, the spelling thing's pretty funny. Like, a lot of people have problems with spelling sometimes these days, but the Social Cohesion Division, how 1984, I mean, I hate to say it, how 1984-ish does that sound, these names? Social Cohesion Division. extremism insights and communication, right? They were treating the general public sharing information about COVID, jokes about COVID, as extremism, right? This is the extent that our government went to. But let's keep going. Let's have a look. So we got senior analyst. This is, I think, an email header that they're just showing us. So you can see from the Home Affairs Department, Social Cohesion Division. Can't get over that. Let's have a look. Let's see what they say. This is Anti-Disinformation 101, a group that can't spell check, becoming the fact-checking authority for an entire nation. And as we'll later learn, globally, the same level of care was seemingly paid to requests and the value of free speech more broadly. Housing COVID-19 censorship management in an intelligence office normally dedicated to monitoring political extremism mirrors the broader global trend highlighted by earlier Twitter Files reporting, namely that with the wind down of the war of terror, the intelligence community has switched its attention to countering violent extremism. Now, just on that point more broadly, we see this in America, we see this in Australia. These measures and laws designed around fighting terrorism and extremism, sometimes even abroad, is then switched over to face towards the domestic population. And, we're seeing a classic example of this, which I think is what these articles pertaining to, that it's now being turned against members of the public. And let's see how they did it. This in turn provided broader cover for the censorship of disfavored internal groups like, for instance, vaccination skeptics or just even anti-lockdown activists. We all know about this. Whether or not any staff had public health expertise remains unknown. The DHA rarely provided evidence of their counterclaims, and where they do, they rely on fact-checking organizations like Yahoo and USA Today rather than on Australia's own scientists. Again, so now we're finding out that our government, in censoring members of the public, were relying on articles in Yahoo News and USA Today, who themselves did not always use scientists or medical professionals to do this fact-checking. We know this definitively, right? So the government, it appears, allegedly didn't use their own scientists and experts to do this fact-checking they were doing on Australians. They were just using outside articles to say, look, this article says that there's problems with this post. Please remove this. This is what they were doing. It's laughable. So it appears maybe the person that was doing this didn't really have any expert medical knowledge to be judging the posts of doctors in Australia. Scandalous. Let's keep having a look. So this is some of the articles I think they're showing that they've sent through. So they've sent through a Reuters article fact check. They've sent through a Yahoo fact check and a USA Today fact check. And how many of these fact checkers, I know how many of these fact checkers got it wrong. Nonsense. It's not possible to establish what public health competencies existed within a team dedicated to extremism and social cohesion that appears to have avoided making use of government scientists. Twitter staffers were under no illusion about who they were working with. On one occasion, a staffer suggested adding senior executives to an email chain for enhanced Five Eyes visibility on a series of public service announcements. Five Eyes is the term given to the intelligence sharing group that includes the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So I think they're just saying that Twitter was very well aware that they were dealing with the Department of Home Affairs, a federal department, the Australian government, and they understood that the seniority of the group that they were dealing with. As is the case with American counterparts, Twitter didn't just seek to comply with government requests, but frequently referred to the DHA as a partner. Twitter's hospitality also left them open to large-scale requests. Thank you in advance for reviewing this hefty list, was the response when the DHA sent 44 requests on July 7th, 2021. Now, what happened on July 7th, 2021? I should have looked into this earlier. I'll look into this later, but maybe have a look. Did something happen in Australia on July 7th, 2021 for the government to send 44 requests on one day? Maybe a day before that day or a day after? Were there protests? Was it the day that some lockdown was announced? Was it the day that mandates were put on? Something happened that day for 44 requests to be sent in one day. Let's have a look at some of these emails. So Department of Home Affairs, COVID-19 misinformation. Good morning, Get and COVID teams. The following tweets have been escalated for review by our government partner. Would we be able to assess against the terms of service, please? And there's another email very similar to that. These hefty lists included jokes, accounts with fewer as 20 followers, claims that turned out to be true, and non-Australians circulating a claim in Australia's digital information environment. Even a humorous commentary on masks was deemed too much for the fun police. In one case, a mere reply to a tweet claiming masks are useless was considered to have contradicted official information, making it potentially harmful. Now let's have a look at who this post was about. There we go. It's the Premier of Victoria, Daniel Andrews. So someone wrote, "Not all pics are equal. Apologies that you had to see that." And on the masks, it says, "This mask is as useless as me." I mean, look, it's a political statement. It's someone expressing criticism of Daniel Andrews. It's saying that person doesn't believe that masks work. And he also believes that Daniel Andrews is useless. Now, the government sent a referral to Twitter saying content is assessed to have breached Twitter's COVID-19 policies and protections terms of service by claiming that masks are useless. The content includes categories of potentially harmful information explicitly prohibited by Twitter, such as false or misleading information. But you get the drill. You see what they're doing here. So criticism of our politicians was being monitored and removed if you criticize them on their COVID-related talking points. Go figure. DHA called upon Twitter's own policy that penalized questioning the efficacy of masks. This is ironic considering that a recent Cochrane Review meta-study of masks concluded the pooled results of RCTs did not show a clear reduction in respiratory viral infections with the use of medical and surgical masks. So this is stuff that we're discussing now, where a lot of the information that was given to us regarding masks and other interventions has been shown to be completely, there's counter arguments to it that show a different thing. And those kind of arguments at the time were not allowed, but we know today that there's plenty of studies that show the total opposite of what they claimed. Regardless, the conclusion of DHA and Twitter was that the government officials should never be challenged, right? And that discussing content topics requires banishments to digital Siberia, to say nothing of what used to be a time-honored Australian tradition of poking fun at authority. The accounting question has been suspended. We need to have spaces where we can get together as members of the public on the digital town square and criticize these politicians for the things that they're doing and saying. If the members of the public are saying that this guy is as useless as a mask, that's their own personal belief, and that's the political statement that they're making. And then to have the federal government intervene in that process and have things removed because they deem it to be dangerous in secret, right? This was all done in secret. If there's nothing wrong with what they were doing, why was it done in secret? Okay, think about this. If all this was above board, why do it in secret? Let's keep going. Similarly, in the can't take a joke category, the DHA apparently believed that a tweeter thought that the swab used for PCR testing really was a shoved up to your brain, or perhaps they didn't really believe that and just wanted to use user off the internet. There's no way to tell. The DHA declined a request for comment. At least this request was denied. So here they attempted to have a post taken down, which Twitter actually denied. And this is what the poster wrote. This is what the government tried to have taken down. Just heard that people were being turned back yesterday from a COVID testing centers as there's a 7-hour wait. If you're prepared to voluntarily wait 7 hours to have something shoved up your brain, you're not only a clown, you're the entire circus. Again, tell me where in that particular post that person is saying is misinformation or disinformation. They're sharing their opinion and they're saying that people are having to wait 7 hours, which is a criticism of the government in itself, right? The waiting lines are going up to 7 hours. And then they're saying, if you're prepared to wait 7 hours to shove something up your nose to find something out, then, you're a part of the circus. Now, that in itself doesn't sound like misinformation, doesn't sound like disinformation. It sounds like a disgruntled member of the public criticizing the policies of their government. And the fact that the government is then trying to take this down, we should be outraged by this kind of activities. This is why we need a proper accounting. We need full transparency and access to all of the requests that the government made. Let's keep going. In an even greater example of micromanagement, the DHA targeted the tiniest of accounts, one doctor. Okay, here now it's getting serious. Now the government is targeting medical professionals as well. One doctor caught in the censorship dragnet had just 20 followers. Another tweet that DH is asked to take down recommended the use of steroids for treating COVID-19, which has since become a common hospital protocol. Right? These guys, this government, our government, was censoring our doctors. Even this doctor had a small following, 20 people, talking about a potential treatment of using steroids, which apparently now is a common treatment in the treatment of COVID-19 in hospitals. They were trying to get that taken down in secret. Despite not garnering a single like and only one retweet, the extremism team wanted the tweet removed. Right? No likes, one retweet, but the Social Cohesion Extremism Watch team at the Department of Home Affairs was trying to get this removed. Why did they not want to have Australians seeing this type of information? Why? And then you got the doctor here, his posts, and this is the one they're trying to remove. The DHA went well beyond even pretending to police mis and disinformation. In one case, they argued a post should be removed because a user claimed the government, specifically the Minister for Health, had used emotionally manipulative language. The tweet in question below garnered just 8 likes and 2 retweets, and again escaped the micromanagers. Let's have a look. Let's have a read of the tweet. It started as the Great Australian Project, but was renamed the Great Australian Project today. 1st March 2021, to be clear, it has no relation at all to the recent speech made by the Minister of Health, Greg Hunt, who used emotionally manipulative language to convince Australians. What's wrong with that tweet? What's wrong with that post? Why has the government deemed that post where he's saying that the Minister for Health, Greg Hunt, is using emotionally manipulative language to convince Australians? Why is the government trying to have that removed? This is a valid opinion from a citizen in our country. This is a valid opinion and a criticism of a member of government. And then the government is going in secret behind, I keep reiterating this point, trying to have this removed. This is very problematic. Like, this is not misinformation or disinformation. What the hell is this? In some places, the DHA seemed to deem itself sovereign over the entire internet, targeting non-Australians under the spurious logic that they were circulating a claim in Australia's digital information environment. You know, these guys don't even understand how the internet works, right? They don't even understand how the internet works. Essentially, Australians appeared to be asserting jurisdiction even over non-Australian accounts, and in some cases, content that inspired complaints looks to have been pulled entirely from Twitter. What was the legal basis for a foreign government flagging the content from non-citizens for removal? I mean, that's a very important question that we should be asking of these social media companies. Like, why are they entertaining this kind of stuff? It shows you that all of these organizations at that time, in particular Twitter and Facebook, were colluding with these governments. They thought they knew what was best, and they thought they could shove down our throats what they thought was best for all of us. And us, the mere mortal peasants, the plebs of society, couldn't have our own communications without them interfering with us. Ridiculous. During the COVID-19 crisis, the Australian government appears to have taken the same approach as its Five Eyes cousins, freely mixing concepts of violent extremism and social cohesion with legitimate concerns of citizens regarding government panic, lack of expertise, and overreach. From our review, little to none of the content that was flagged came from extremists. Rather, it was and is from everyday Australians and foreigners who disagreed with government policy. Some of their claims are indeed far out and at least esoteric, but characters are part of life, and being unusual doesn't justify a dragnet approach to censorship. The Australian stereotype of mocking self-important authorities was tepid at best. During the crisis, and what questions of authority did take place appears to have been quickly memory hauled by spell checkers turned fact checkers at the Department of Home Affairs extremism team. With each passing day, idiocracy is looking more and more like prophecy. Look, guys, whatever you think happened during that time, whether you supported the government censorship of people, or whether you supported vaccine mandates, or whether you were against anti-vaxxers or anti-lockdown protesters, or whether you all of these things, you have to understand that if the government can do this for this particular reason, they can do it for anything. So what else have they done this for? Which is, a red flag question that we should be asking. If you think this is okay, right? If you think this is okay because it aligns with something that you agree with the government on today, it's not, too far off in the distant future when there's a government that you might not like using these same tools against something that you disagree or agree with. See how there's a problem? And this is why I'm so vested in this issue, because I think this is a major issue that we need to actually get some transparency and answers from our government. So look, I'm going to link to this. We're going to keep following this story. I think there's more to this. There's going to be more that's coming out. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And I hope that the people in the Senate, senators that are looking into this, follow through and actually gets more and more information. And I hope the Home Affairs Ministry has a change of heart and actually comes clean. Of course, they'll try to justify it with some nonsense about what they did was right in the moment, given they had to protect society. But, I don't care about that. Show us the documents. Give us access to all this information. If not, we need more Twitter files. We need more of these, freedom of information requests. We need more leaks to expose these people for the absolute nonsense that they took part in. Again, guys, that's all I have time for today. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, please follow me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and Instagram. You can find me at The Real Rukshan. See you next time.